How's everybody doing out there tonight? Getting a few of you guys on here. We'll get a few more on before we take off with this thing. Chris Ashley, how's it going, bud? You got an order heading your way, bud. I meant to text you today to let you know, and I forgot all about it. Brandon, good to see you on here, bud. You're welcome, Chris. I ain't gonna lie. I forgot about it for like 3 days, and then it hit me. So I apologize. Too much stuff going on right now, man. It's busy. It's going crazy. My old buddy Anthony, good to see you on here, man. You guys must not have anything better to do than watch me talk tonight. It's only like 79 degrees and beautiful outside right now. Well, we can get this thing fired up, guys. Other ones will be jumping on here. This is probably going to be a good night for some Q&A because when it comes to fertilizer, very important, but there ain't a whole lot to talk about. So I could have made this a 2-for-1 type deal, I guess. But, you know, I'm kind of glad we're having this conversation tonight because about 2 weeks ago, I was on the phone with a guy. At first, I thought it was a scam because how he was acting and talking to me about fertilizer and asking questions about fertilizer, the poor guy had no idea what was going on. And it almost put me in the mind of like another company calling me and trying to get me to give information to him, kind of one of them type of deals. But it turned out it wasn't. It was just a customer that was so confused about fertilizer that in my 30-some years, I've never seen someone so confused. So I'm glad we got him straightened out. But fertilizer is one of the things that's probably one of the easiest things to do, but it's probably one thing that a lot of people overthink, or they just don't know much about it. So hopefully I can answer a little bit of the questions tonight for you. But with this gentleman, he was right in some ways. What he was wanting to do was plant our fall, winter, spring, 1 acre of it. And he knew how much nitrogen an acre of cereal rye took. But while I was trying to explain to him how many pounds of nitrogen are in a bag, he could not get it because he kept thinking that he's planting fall, winter, spring. It's got cereal rye. It doesn't have enough nitrogen. He's got to add more nitrogen. When you're planting a mixture Don't go by what each plant. If you Google cereal rye, it's going to tell you an ungodly number of nitrogen that it loads per acre. You Google radishes, you Google buckwheat, you Google peas, all four things that are in that mix. You're not planting a whole acre of each of them. You're planting a mixture that adds up to an acre. And that's what I couldn't get through his head. He kept thinking that since he's planting an acre of fall, winter, spring that has cereal rye in it, that he's planting a whole acre's worth of cereal rye. But he's not. And you're not. Nobody is. Unless you plant cereal rye straight. So don't go by Googling and finding out what species takes what fertilizer and how many pounds per acre, because you're going to way overdo it. So we got him through it, but it was a good lesson for me, because I don't think I've ever been asked it before. A person being confused on a mixture of 4 plants, thinking that each one of them equal up to an acreage coverage, and you're only planting on an acre, which that'd be a 4-acre coverage. This wouldn't work. So that's why when we test our products, you will see on the back of the bag, and this is what he looked at. This is what he was questioning. He was looking on the back of that bag on how much fertilizer we recommend for you to put down for that bag of seed per acre. And that's where he was confused at, because he kept thinking there wasn't enough nitrogen, ain't enough nitrogen for cereal rye for a whole acre. That's why we put them on there. When we test a product, we go through a lot of different methods of different amounts of fertilizer, different types of fertilizer, and we see which works best. That's what we put on the bag. Now, when it comes down to let's say, how do I want to say this here? I don't know how I want to say it. we look at it a different way. When it comes down to doing it the proper way, a soil test is better to see what kind of nutrients is already in your soil, and then add from that. So if you got, let's just go with, fall, winter, spring again. You get your soil test done in the co-op. It's going to tell you the NPK of what your soil is and how many pounds of fertilizer of each one that you need, if any, or which one needs the most for the plant that you have told them that you're planting. So when we put that on back of the bag, that is this kind of like, it's almost like an overkill kind of. We know there's nutrients in your soil. If we thought there wasn't any, we'd have to add a lot more fertilizer on the back of that bag. So we're going off this kind of a mediocre, what you normally see in a soil, which could vary depending on what you plant in it. That's how we pick that from. Now, even though, let's say, I'm running 300 pounds of 0060 on my trophy clover, I don't know how much potash is in my soil unless I do a soil test, which I do. But normally that 300 pounds per acre is going to let them plants thrive anyway. Now, it could be better if you're completely depleted out of potash in your soil, but 99% of the time you're not. So it's always best to get a soil test, but you can get by with just going through, using what we recommend on fertilizer, the type of fertilizer we recommend, and go from there. So it works out very well. Now, what a lot of people look at, and you guys heard me talk about a million times, picking the proper fertilizer for your application. Let's go back to clover. Clover will actually suck in nitrogen from the atmosphere and store it in the soil. So you want to stay away from using nitrogen on them clover plots. That's why I like running a straight 0060 or a 02020. I love 02020, but it's just harder to find. So I run 06060. With the 060, the 0060. With the 0060, I'm not getting as many big, beautiful blooms that what you would if you ran that 02020. But I'm still getting to show me that it's matured out, that I need to mow it, I need to take care of it, need to do some maintenance. But the plants are going to thrive in it. So stay away from that nitrogen. Now you get into looking at a fall variety, your honey hole, your slam dunk, you know, your grade 8, stuff like that. No sweat, all them. They love nitrogen. The barricade loves nitrogen. They thrive on it. So that's where you want to get into more like your triple 19 if you can find it. You know, you're looking anywhere from 200 to 300 pounds per acre, a triple 19. If you're running, if you can only find, you know, triple 10, triple 12, triple 13, you're going to bump them that poundage up some. So you're really just looking into picking the right fertilizer for your application and the right poundage per acre, and your plants are going to thrive. Now it goes right back with the pH of your soil. Like I beat it in your head every other week. You know, if you don't check that pH and don't get that pH up, then plants are not going to utilize the fertilizer like they need. So you can put all the fertilizer on you want, but if that pH is not up and not close to that 7 or at 7, you're just wasting money. Yeah, your plants are going to benefit some, but not like they should. So check your pH, add your lime, get that pH up as close as you can to that 7.0 or at a 7.0. Pick the proper fertilizer. I personally, I get a question all the time on our clover fuel and our jolt. Oh, I don't know what hand I'm turning here. And the clover fuel and the jolt. You know, the clover fuel is for our legume plants, clovers, alfalfa, soybeans, peas. You know, that's the 0028. You're looking at the jolt here, which is actually a nitrogen based. So what is that, 917.9? And so what you're looking at is, I get asked a lot, can I just use this solely and not granular? I highly recommend you not doing that. These work very, very well for what they're designed to do. So I always use granular fertilizer on my food plots. And I'll turn this off here. Sorry, guys. I always use granular fertilizer on my food plots to get them up and going. Now, if I want to give them a little kickstart, little boost, that's where these come in. You're going to see a big difference on them. If you've never used them, spray your plot and leave a spot that's not sprayed, and you'll be blown away. So the clover fuel is by far my best friend, just because I'm a diehard clover guy. So both of these here can be mixed in with your herbicides. It can be mixed in with the Plot Max, the soil conditioner. You can spray your Plot Max, your foliar fertilizer, and your herbicide all at the same time. When I'm spraying my clethodim, my 2,4-DB to kill my grass and weeds on my clover, the clover fuel goes right into that tank with it, and I'm feeding the plants. I'm killing off the weeds and grasses, and even though them are select herbicides, they're going to stun the plant. You're going to see a good 2 weeks worth of plant being stunned. Now you go and you start putting a foliar fertilizer on like the clover fuel, it will actually shorten that by about a week. It'll really give them plants the nutrition they need to bounce back quicker. So the jolt works excellent on the annual plots, especially right before hunting season. You want to give them a big kickstart. I highly recommend running 2 doses of it per growing season. But right before hunting season, the plants are still in their growing state. Give them a good dose of it, and that just add more tonnage, sweeten the plant up, and be a lot better for you. All right, let's see what we got here real quick, guys. I'm just rambling on. I think I just rambled on a whole show in about 10 minutes. Mike, good to see you on here, bud. Both Mikes, good to see you on here. Jason, Doug, Mark, you're all on here. Good to see you guys. Jason Craig, good to see you on here. Chris Ashley's asking, is it good to apply clover fuel now to the clover or too early still? When it comes to foliar fertilizer, you want to make sure the plants are in their growing state and they're not dormant. So what a lot of people look at, they start seeing that green starting to pop. Ground temps are warming up enough. They're starting to come back to life. And when they do that, you can spray it. I like to wait till I see them plants get up there about 2 to 3 inches tall before I spray them. With it being a foliar fertilizer, you want it to adhere to the plant. So the more plant there is for it to adhere to, the better benefit that plant's going to receive. So I like waiting. Definitely let the plant get out of its dormancy and start growing in the spring. Then wait for that plant to get about 2 to 3 inches, and it'll work a lot better for you. Chris, I guess I missed you. I don't know what part I was talking about when you asked me this question. Was that with the assumption the soil already has optimal NPK and pH? If I think I know what you're talking about, yes, that is correct. Kevin McFarland, good to see you on here, bud. But just kind of recap, guys, this for the guys that's just joining in. Again, pick the proper fertilizer, the proper poundage. Don't overthink it. Now, if I am building a new plot, I will always work my fertilizer, especially my nitrogen-based fertilizer, into the soil when I work the ground. I'll always spread my fertilizer. If it's a nitrogen base, I'll always spread my fertilizer and work it in, because the nitrogen in that will actually evaporate into the air and you'll lose it. So I always like working it in. Now, if I have a good rain coming in, I'm getting ready to put it down right before a rain, then yeah, I will. And if I'm putting it down over an existing plot, I always wait for a good rain to come in and do it right before, or even sometimes I hit it when I get rained on. You just never know. But I don't want that nitrogen just laying out there on that soil. Number one, it'll burn the plant if it's very high, especially like when I'm using urea on my barricade. It's got to get some water on it. It's got to rain, because I will burn it up. But yeah, I always work that nitrogen in just so I don't lose any to evaporation. Chris, actually, yes. I prefer triple 19 versus urea on the honey hole. I do, just because you can burn them plants up so easy getting it too hot. Now, if you time it just right, like I say, before rain, and you get a good rain, you can get by with it. But it's just one of them deals you're kind of gambling a little bit using urea on honey hole, or the slam dunk, or the grade 8. You're really gambling with that. Mike's asking, will 2,4-DB kill chicory? Yes, it can. Yes. What I have found using 2,4-DB is I try to catch my weeds at a very young age. I mean, very small growth, and hit them with a light dosage of 2,4-DB in my clover chicory plots. It'll stun the heck out of the chicory, but a lot of times they will live through it. It might take a few weeks, but they'll bounce back. But if you got to put the recommended dose on, or a hot dose, you will fry that chicory with the 2,4-DB. Just seeing what we got here, guys. Now, actually, Mike, I just scrolled up and I just seen your other question. A couple of weeks ago, you said you like to plant chicory and alfalfa. My question is, do you plant them together or separate plots? I plant a lot of our Booner Buffet, which is our premium alfalfa chicory variety. It also has a variety of clover in it. My favorite's the trophy clover that has the chicory in it. I used to plant them only, especially the trophy clover, for many years, until I seen the benefit out of the chicory. And now I plant usually about 3 acres of straight chicory. So the chicory is one of my favorite plants besides clover to plant. And it's easier to maintain being separate instead of mixed in with the clover and alfalfa of what you can spray on it. Now, Chicory is the same way. A lot of times with the chicory clover plots, if I get a weedy mess, or the Booner Buffet, which is alfalfa chicory, I get a weedy mess. I take care of my weeds with mowing. 90% of all my weed control is done by mowing. Now, if it gets out of hand, then I will spray either Cleth or 2,4-DB on it, or IMOX. But I try my best to get them knocked out with mowing, and it just makes the plant healthier as well. But I'll tell you what, guys, I mean, I can't stress it enough on how important a soil sample is that you can take into a co-op just to see what your soil really is. Even if you only want to do it once every so many years, just to see how bad depleted your soil is, especially if you're going to start a new plot. pH is, you definitely got to do that. But with a good soil, it's going to tell you the NPK of that soil. It's going to tell you how bad it's depleted, or if it's not. And then in some cases, your soil could be pretty decent where you don't have to add as much fertilizer, which saves you a lot of money. But I noticed, just like a pH test kit, a lot of people, being the cheapest thing you can do and the easiest thing to do, a lot of people will steer away from it, and they do the same thing on a soil test. Usually a soil test costs anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks. It takes about a week to get the results. Two of the very most important things you can do when it comes to establishing a healthy food plot that's going to give you the most tonnage you can get out of it. Chris was asking if do I spray one shot of Clethdem and 2,4-DB? No, I do not. With both of them being a select herbicide, they're made not to kill. Like, let's just say you're going to do it on a clover plot. They won't kill that broadleaf plant. They kill other broadleaf plants. They won't kill that one. But they stress them. Again, they can stress them for a good 2 weeks. So when you mix them together, you're stressing, you're giving them a double whammy. And I've tested it that way and seen how bad it was. And I've actually fried some clover that way in some test areas, trying to shorten it up and do both at the same time. Even with fertilizer added and all, it burns them pretty good. So I never spray one any earlier than about 7 days from the other. So I usually wait at least 7 days before I'll spray the second one. So I'm always spraying them separate. Mike's asking, when do you do your first glide spray? You said you put Dawn dish soap. I use Dawn dish soap for surfactant. Instead of going out buying bean oil or crop oil, I just use Dawn dish soap. It's cheap by the gallon, and it works very, very well for a surfactant. You can do the same thing with crop oil. You can do the same thing with bean oil, but I've just always used Dawn dish soap. And if you're spraying a big enough tank, you can see where you're spraying because it leaves suds on the ground. Jason's asking, how many times a year do I mow? It really depends on Mother Nature. I've had dry spells like last year that I only mowed twice, my clover twice. That's because we're in such a drought. We've been that way for about the last 3 years. I've had it to where I was mowing every other week when I was really pouring the nutrients to my clovers. The pH was upright. They were just hammering. And I mean, getting a lot of moisture. I mean, it was to the point where I was having a hard time getting the ground dried up enough for me to mow. That's how fast they were growing. So it really just depends. But I always mow every time it flowers, no matter what, unless we're in a drought, which 99% of the time in a drought, it's going to flower because the plant goes dormant. But we know not to mow when it's in a drought. So it just stays there until they start getting the moisture back. They come back to life, get out of their dormancy, starting to get healthy again. Then I'll top them. John Seats, good to see you on here. BGJ, nice to see you on here. Yeah, Chris, and the Dawn dish soap will clean your plants. Yep, absolutely. That's a good one. But no, Dawn works very well. Really, any kind of degreaser type household dish type detergent works very well. But Dawn, I've just always used it, and it's worked very, very well. It'll really cling to it. Now, there's something that goes on here. This is way off subject, kind of. I hear it said all the time, and I don't know how they're getting it and why it's doing it. Running glyphosate through a spray tank, or Liberty like I use through a spray tank. You run that tank empty. I've had so many people tell me that when the using foliar fertilizer, stuff like that, that they spray it and it kills their plants because they forget to wash their tank out. There is no possible way that can happen. You take a product like glyphosate and you got a 25-gallon tank. If it's a dry tank, any kind of little residue that's left in that tank stuck to the walls is always going to be diluted way too much to kill anything. So, again, way off topic, but I get it a lot. So, do I need to clean my tank out before? I have never cleaned Clethodim, 2,4-DB, Liberty, even 2,4-D when I'm just wanting to kill out a big area to kill like multiple rows, stuff like that. I have never in my life washed a tank out with a chemical. Now, will I run water through it and run water through my tips? Yeah. Or my spray tips. But I never clean a tank with a chemical. There's not enough residue left in that tank that could actually kill something if you fill that tank back up to being full. So don't be discouraged on using the foliar fertilizers on a tank that you use. I mean, I know guys that have tanks just for foliar fertilizers and go spend another $600 on a tank just to spray herbicide. You only need one tank. I mean, if you got a little bit left in it, rinse it out, fill it up, put your foliar fertilizers in, and go like hell. So don't be discouraged there on thinking you need more than one tank for what application you're using. Same way with that Jolt. I'll run Jolt right through my sprayer tank on my annuals, and I'll go right back to my truck with my bulk tank. I'll put a little bit of water in it, clean my sprayers out. I'll fill it up and put clover fuel in, go spray my clovers. There ain't enough nitrogen there to hurt anything. So just don't get discouraged and think you got to go spend more money just because you're going to use foliar fertilizers. Use the same tank and go to town. I do the same thing on my pump up backup sprayers, my battery powered backup sprayer. Run some water through it. Go to town. All you got to do. Jason, how much do you use per gallon? If you're looking, Jason, at the Dawn dish soap, I'm usually using a quart per 25 gallons of water. I usually run 1 quart of Dawn dish soap to 25 gallons of water. Yeah, Chris, the non-toxic surfactant works very well in your habitat work. Absolutely. There are so many different surfactants out there that you can use. It works out very well. I'm just a cheapskate. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, I'll go spend stupid money on guns and ammo and all that. But when it comes to stuff like using Dawn dish soap instead of going buying bean oil and stuff like that, you're going to see me go the cheap way. But when it comes to checking your pH, doing a soil test and using the proper fertilizer, the woman upstairs here has no clue on how much money I spend on that stuff. and she don't need to know. So hopefully she's not watching. Usually she don't watch me, so hopefully she's not right now. Says she sees me enough. She don't need to watch me on the screen. Should be down here trying to say I need to properly, I don't know, they call it pronunciate and all this stuff. And I'm just a redneck. I just say it how it is. And if you can't understand, you're not a redneck. I'm telling you right now, guys. And I know most people on here that I know right here, you got some redneck in you. So we're doing pretty good. Heck, Anthony's on here and he's a redneck from New York. So, I mean, I know that for a fact. Just make sure I'm not missing something here, guys. You got questions, give them to me. Like I say, talking about fertilizer is only so much you can talk about. Chris was talking about in West Virginia, they can send soil samples to the West Virginia University free as a resident. That's a pretty good deal. I like that. You know, I never checked in on something like that around here, but I'm from Illinois, so I guarantee it won't be free. They might do it at the university. It won't be free, but I never checked on that. Rob's on here. Good to see you, bud. It says frost seeded in chicory and clover this past March. The plot is a half acre. I want to know when I should fertilize the plot after the clover is established. Rob, are you talking about the foliar fertilizers or are you talking about granular, bud? If you're talking about granular, I'd be getting it on there. If you're talking about the foliar fertilizers, let them plants get up there a few inches tall after that ground temp warms up, which it should be doing. But granular, you can get it on there, man. And with that chicory clover, see if you can find you something like a 0-20-20 or a 0-0-60. It's going to work the best for you. And probably too, another good little thing to bring up too is when you're buying fertilizer, if you're using fertilizer like I said, we on our back of our bags, they're going to have our recommended rate and everything on there. But if you're doing something that you don't have that, you always want to make sure you look at the bag that you get and make sure to see what the square foot of it is, to know how much you're actually can cover with that bag and what you're getting out of it. So just because you buy a 50-pound bag of fertilizer, it ain't made to go over a whole acre plot. So looking to see what you're looking at there. It's 1,500 square foot. If it's 7,500 square foot, depends on the size of the bag. Make sure you look and see what you got there. Doug's talking on here, saying Lakeland and Mattoon does not do soil tests, and it has to be it does not do it for free, and it has to be farm ground for ISU and Bloomington to get it for free. I see. I'll just figure out what farmer's name, the farmer close to you, and just go in there and say it's for him. Chris Ashley is asking me if I believe in liquid lime for long-term gain or view it as a short-term gain. Very short-term gain. Very short-term. A good spike, and that's it. So that's how I see it, bud. That's how I studied it. All the farmers I've talked to, I think I've said it many times for us that before, that when I ask a farmer why he doesn't use liquid lime, they all tell me If it works the way they says it do, that it says it does, and is as cheap as they say it is, every farmer in the state would be using it, and I can't name a one. So short-term game, absolutely. A lot of the so-called liquid lime that you see out there has a percentage of nitrogen in it that throws people off when they see that plant green up real quick after they use it. They think it's the pH doing it. It's the fertilizer doing it. So will it spike it? Yes, it will spike it, but it's very short-lived. So for the ones that I've tested, which are quite a few of them over the last, well, since 2018, when I was in Wisconsin, I started testing them and reviewing them. It was, December of 18, I started. And to this day, I haven't found one that will give me a long term. Not saying there's not one out there. I'm just saying I haven't found it yet. There very well could be something out there that I don't know about. But I'm just telling you my honest opinion of my testing and what I have found, and not bad mouthing anybody's products. It's just that's how I am. You know, I'll say that just like I do with our Lick Magic and our Trophy Deer Mineral. Talking about off topic, I will never have a property out of Illinois that doesn't have this on it. This product will be on every property I own if it's legal in the state. The Lick Magic, no, because I want a mineral that's going to do everything I want for that deer. The Trophy Deer Mineral is going to do it. The Lick Magic is going to do it somewhat, but it's a higher attractant rate. Very good product, but it's not going to give you the results as a Trophy Deer Mineral will. So I kind of look at that as in, you'll never get the results out of pelletized lime as you will ag lime, as in longevity. I look at that as same as the liquid stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way I look at it. I mean, I'll tell you about my products here, that certain ones that I like over the other and why I like them. I'll never damn anybody's product, and I'll never damn ours unless it needs to be. And again, the Lick Magic, wonderful product. The deer are going to definitely benefit from it, but not as much as a Trophy Deer Mineral. So for me, wanting the best I can have, I'm going to use a Trophy Deer Mineral. When I want to build my pH, I want the best I can have. If I can get ag lime in there, I'm going to get ag lime in there just for the longevity of it. If I can't, I'm going to use pelletized lime because it's going to give me exactly what I want, but I'm just going to have to add to it more often every other year or so than I would if I just use the ag lime, and depending on what I plant too. So that's just kind of the way I like to explain it. There could be stuff out there I don't know. Tell you the truth, guys, I'm so busy working on my own stuff. There's people coming to me all the time with a new product out that I've never heard of, and it's standing right in front of me at a show 3 aisles down that I never even heard of before, and I should have. But I'm just so in tune on trying to make sure our stuff is the way it needs to be to give the customer the best results, the deer the best results. And but there's some products out there that are pretty good on the market. And there's some out there that are pretty shady, and that's in all gender. That's not just hunting industry. That's in everything. So you just really want to do your homework, do the studying, call the companies, get the facts on everything before you go and purchase something like that. David, I think you're asking if I have any Antler King decals. I think I might have 2 left. I think that's all we got. We don't have any Antler King decals anymore. We actually haven't had any made in many, many years now. The last ones I had came from Wisconsin, from our old warehouse, and that was in 2019 that I finally used up a year ago at the shows. There's something we don't deal with anymore. Dave's asked me, how do you use Trophy Deer Mineral? just put it on the ground, Southeast Ohio hill country with no ag around. Dave, what I like doing is I love to find an area that the deer are going to feel secure in, and an area that I'm not going to go in. So with me, I look for an area away from my food plots, away from any kind of busy traffic, anything like that. You don't want it to be somewhere that you're going to be going in and out of all the time. Not next to a feeder, nothing like that. Get them back into the woods in there, in a thick area, something like that, where the deer will feel secure when you're in there and you're not always pushing them out. If you come in to mow your food plot, check your feeder, whatever, you're nowhere close to them. They're going to feel good. So I like going and finding a flat area, and I will go in there about a 4-foot circle, clear it out with a steel rake, maybe rake it around, soften it up just a little bit, just so I don't get any water runoff when we first get a good rain. Let it soak in, and I just walk away from it. So just rake that little area out, about a 4-foot circle. I do not dump mine in a pile. I dump mine all over the whole 4-foot circle. And when I replenish mine once a year, I'll go in and I'll sprinkle it over that whole area. Now, the bigger the mineral licks get, the less one bag's going to carry. So if you look at this one lick of mine here, I mean, you can literally, and it's not a very good picture, but you can almost you can pretty much park your truck in it. So one bag don't cover that very well, but I will sprinkle a whole bag over it and just lightly dust it all the way around it and let the deer have it. Have a good night, Chris. Appreciate it, bud. Well, Ian's on here, bud. Man, it's good to see you on here, man. I was just thinking about you the other day. I'm not going to say why. Nah, it's all them little young'uns, man. That's awesome, dude. Happy for you guys. Jay's asking if I mix a bag of the Power Rack with the Trophy Deer Mineral. Here's what we did here, guys. The Trophy Deer Mineral, you're looking at 27% salt, very low in salt, which hurts that mix just because of the attraction part of it, is because what attracts the deer to it at first is the salt. The salt is like candy to them. But to raise the content of salt in this bag, we either got to take away some of the 25 different trace minerals and vitamins or make a great big bag. So we're not going to do that. We keep it at 20 pounds, just like it was when Todd, the founder, started the company with it. So you look at the Lick Magic, you're looking at you're looking at lower 50% salt. That's why it's more of an attractant than it is a mineral. Even though it does have 11 different trace minerals and vitamins in it, the deer are definitely going to get some benefit out of it, but it's more of an attractant over the Trophy Deer Mineral. If you pour the Lick Magic out and the Trophy Deer Mineral out across this room from each other, they're going to hit the Lick Magic first, just because it's so much sweeter. So what we end up doing, people started asking us, because they were using it next to where they using products that were very high, some of them 98, 99% salt out on the market, and the deer were hitting them and not ours. So what we ended up doing is making the Power Rack many years ago. You can use this solely on yourself, but it's higher in salt. It's got trace minerals and vitamins in it. You can use it all by itself, or if you take one bag of the Power Rack, mix it in with the Trophy Deer Mineral, then they have their medicine and their candy at the same time without having to take away any of the trace minerals and vitamins to add salt to that bag. So that's what we end up doing. I personally have never had to use it. I've never used Power Rack a day in my life. In the 20-some years of networking, I've never used it. I always use the Trophy Deer Mineral. I've never had to use any other salt with it. The deer just destroy it. So it's just kind of, if you think your deer are going to be picky, or if you got a spot there that you're using pretty much a salt block or a mineral that's pretty much just 99% salt, so-called mineral, you definitely probably want to use a Power Rack to get the deer really hammered on it. And then when they get into it, they never leave it. Have a good night, Jason. Thanks for coming on, bud. Sean's asking, does our liquid products have a micronutrients in it? I love clover fuel, but want to add some more if needed. These here, you're not going to see the micronutrients in with them, bud. Or liquid attractants do. That ain't going to help you for your plots. But no, these are, they're not going to help you out in there at all on the micronutrients. All right, guys, got a little bit more time. If you got some more questions, let me know. Or if you have any more questions about fertilizer stuff, let me know. Because like I say, I think unless I'm forgetting something, I've pretty much said all I can say about NPK. I'll tell you that. Again, it's something a lot of people overthink a lot, and they worry themselves to death when it comes to fertilizer, but there's nothing to it. I mean, it's very, very simple. You're putting nitrogen on the ground. Make sure you work it in if you can, if it's a new plot. If it's not a new plot and you're putting on existing, try to do it prior to a rain so you don't lose any nitrogen to evaporation. Use your non-nitrogen products that's full of potash. Use them on your legume type plants. Don't feed them a lot of nitrogen because you're just going to be feeding the weeds and grasses. So very, very simple. And again, check that pH and check your soil if you can. At least check that pH and get that pH up. That is the biggest. I mean, there's nothing on a plot that I can say more. I would rather check my pH and add lime than put fertilizer down. Just because I know if my pH is up, the nutrients that is stored in that soil already, the plants can absorb it. They can utilize that. If that pH is low, then nutrients in that soil ain't going to get that plant nothing. So checking that pH, man, that's crucial. I need to put it on here, actually. I don't think I do. But I don't think I do. Let me look. When I do a PowerPoint at a seminar, I have a slide. I don't think I have it on here. I do not. I'm going to put it on here just so I'll have it. But I have a slide where years ago, I took a planter, and this is a planter like to put on your front porch. I did no sweat and another planter with no sweat. I checked the pH in the one and built it up before I ever planted. And it was at a 6.5. The other one was at a 5.0. And planted the no sweat in it. Used the same amount of Jolt fertilizer. And the growth difference is about fourfold. It just blows you away on how much difference of growth, the amount of tonnage you get just from a 5.0 to a 6.5 using the same amount of fertilizer. It'll just blow you away. Yeah, John, my buddy from Southern Illinois on here, he used to have a chicken farm. And yeah, the chicken crap, man, that works very well. Not like horse manure, though. You want to watch it. You don't get too much in it, burn it up. But, man, it's hot, and it does very, very well, especially if you're putting it on and tilling in. Getting on there early, get it all tilled in. Man, it does very well. Good for your soil as well. John, I'm glad I see that you're actually being able to comment on here. I like this. The thing gets me about my buddy John here, though, I'm just thinking about it. He won't text me. If I text him, he'll call me because he don't text, but he can text me on here. I got you now, John. That's a good one. I can see you can text now. All right, guys, you got anything else for me? We're getting down to the nitty gritty. You'll be out planting food plots this weekend, I'm telling you. I'm so far behind right now, I don't know when I'm going to get stuff done. Too much stuff going on, but that's a good thing for work. I think I got all your questions here answered. I just keep bouncing back looking. I always seem to forget one or two here and there. And Dave, you're Dave Dillon. You're talking about the trophy deer mineral. Just to let you know, too, bud. We also have the Apple Burst block, which is a 20-pound mineral block that is very similar to the trophy deer mineral. But me myself, I prefer the granular over a block. The deer can consume it a lot better, a lot easier. But just letting you know if a block works better for you, something like that. We do have it in the block form, but the trophy deer mineral is the Mac Daddy. Well, it looks like I got all you guys here. It looks like. Doug Lamb, you have a good one, bud. John, that's right. That chicken manure, you had rice hulls mixed in with it. That is very true. That would be very good. Mike, you're asking if I ever put plot start on a regular garden. I have never put it on anything other than testing the product. I've never used it in the garden or anything like that. The Plot Max, our Plot Max, I use it in our garden in our Jolt fertilizer. I have more guys buy Jolt fertilizer from me for their gardens than they do food plots or their trees, especially apple trees and fruit type trees. But our Plot Max I use in our garden. But the Plot Start, a competitor's product, I've tested it, but I've never used it in the outside world. Robert, yes, Tractor Supply is one of our retailers. Tractor Supply is a very big retailer for us. The thing with Tractor Supply is a lot of people don't understand is they have so many stores. They buy a lot of products, but it goes to, 1,200 some stores. So you don't see a lot all the time. They usually just run a deer event in the fall. Now, some of our products, they're going to be running them year round. So you'll start seeing that coming through your stores. But yeah, they're a very good dealer of ours. They have been for many, many years. Mike, no problem. I thought you probably meant Plot Max. No problem, bud. But yes, I have used it in the garden. I love it in the garden. That humic acid really helps break down that soil. Then the Jolt fertilizer, it'll make tomatoes look like softballs. Robert Hankins, good to see you on here, bud. No problem, man. Sean's asking, how do I get deer to stop eating Graniac block so fast? Laugh out loud. Great job. Keep it up. Man, that block is something special. I've said it many times on here. We knew it was going to be special. We didn't know it was going to be this special. It's crazy. And we're actually working on a few things with the Graniac formula on a couple different products. So next year or so, you might see something a little bit different, or I shouldn't say different, see something added. But that Graniac is just, it's stupid good. They get in your billfold in a hurry, much as the deer like eating them. But if you want a block that the deer are going to hammer, that's it. Mike's asking, when's the best time to spray clover fuel? Morning, evening, or does it matter? I like, especially in the summertime when it's hot midday, I like spraying mine with a dew on either morning or evening. I don't like spraying that hot 90-degree weather in the middle of the day, sun beating down. I like a good dew on early morning, early evening. Now, if you got an overcast day and, even though it's 80 degrees, 85 degrees, overcast, I'd spray it. Then it doesn't bother me one bit. I just don't like that sun just burning them. So, but for myself, I love a early morning dew, late evening dew. Robert's saying the bears like his Graniac too. Absolutely. I get so many pictures of bears carrying the Graniac block off. It's unbelievable how many pictures I get of that. Pictures of them fighting over it. It's funny. All right, guys, they're getting ready to kick me off here. Time is wrapping up pretty quick here. Got something else? What do you got, guys? All right, looks like that's it. Well, we'll see you here in a couple weeks, and think of some questions. You get any questions, jot them down. No matter what the topic is, throw them my way. That's what I'm on here for. I start with the topic, like I always tell you, and but I'd rather answer the questions that you need to know the answer to instead of me just ramble about something that you don't want to know right now. So you just let me know, and we'll just go from there. So you guys have a great night, and we'll see you here in a couple of weeks. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.